Hi everyone, Mrs. Stotz-Mason here. I'm going to get started on the first of two Brain Science 101 videos that you'll be watching this week. I'm going to post these same slides in Google Classroom, so you have the slides themselves, and then there will be two separate videos that go over those slides. That sort of breaks it down for you, okay? All right, so Brain Science 101. You as teenagers are going through a lot of changes. Your brain is rewiring itself right now. This can feel very frustrating. So we're going to go over some parts of the brain later on. And today we're going to talk a little bit about learning and what's actually happening in your brain when you're learning something new. Okay. So we have a couple pictures to get you started. One thing to keep in mind, this thing right here, that's your spinal cord. Okay, and this is how the brain sits inside your skull. So you look for this little part, that's going to be the back of the head. This little part is kind of by the ear. So hopefully that helps you to figure out which way the brain's actually facing. Okay? All right, so how the brain learns things. So I want you to imagine an empty field. Okay? So a big field, I'll move myself out of the way here, with no trails or paths on it. You can see there's nothing on the horizon. This is your brain before you learned something, okay? Now, if you were to walk through this field once or twice, would it leave a trail? Likely not. Why isn't that? So think about that. You haven't walked through it enough to make an impact, right? So there would be nothing there. So this is your brain after thinking something a few times or practicing a skill a few times. What do you notice? You have a path that's kind of worn itself into the field here. And you also have other things sprouting up. You have permanent structures in the background. Okay? So when you learn something, your brain kind of makes a wrinkle, just like we have this path here through this field. Okay, so this is kind of laying the basic groundwork. You've studied something a little bit, but not too much. It's kind of there for you, but it's not totally made, it's not permanent just yet, okay? And then this is supposed to represent your brain after thinking a thought many, many times. Whoopsie, sorry. As in 20 to 30 times. You've learned it in class, you've done an assignment on it, you've explained it to the dog, you've explained it to your best friend, okay? Multiple times you've addressed this thought or this skill, okay? So why is this? The more times you think something, your brain realizes, hey, this must be important, I need to remember this. So it remembers that, and that path becomes more permanent. The structures in the background are bigger and more prominent. It kind of takes hold in your brain more strongly than if you just see something one time and then never revisit it again. Okay, now here's the kicker. This is true for both positive and negative thoughts about yourself. So if you tell yourself, I'm dumb, I can't figure this out, before long, your brain has decided that it cannot understand something. So do yourself a favor and be positive. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend, okay? So key takeaways from this first little mini lesson are, don't expect to learn something by thinking it just one time. That might work for, a couple things, like you might see something one time and it makes such an impact that you remember it. But in school, you might need to study often, okay? Thinking negative thoughts or putting yourself down, even if you think it's funny, that only hurts you in the long run. So simply don't do it. And lastly, positive self-talk can actually help you to learn. Have you ever heard of like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, the great basketball players, and how they have talked about visualization? They see themselves getting the ball into the basket. Those things do make a difference, okay? Okay, so normally I would have you guys in class, and I was going to have you either do a breakout room or we would get into table groups and talk, but that's not going to happen this year. So what I want you to do by yourself, you can stop this video and pause it. Take a minute or two and think about your own study habits or how you feel about school, or maybe it's just one subject that you need help with. What can you do or change this school year to improve those habits? And I want you to write that down in your notebook or anywhere, maybe on your mirror. Okay, one thing you'd like to change. This year I plan to do this instead of this. Maybe it's read before bed instead of watch Netflix before bed. Just pick one of these and finish the thought. Okay? That, I believe, is all for our first video. Okay? We'll see you in the next one.